All right, in this video we're going to give you some hints to help you complete the ISBN lab. I'm sitting right here. I've got two scans I made of books which have ISBN numbers that'll be helpful for us to test everything. So right here we've got a 10-digit code, and here I picked another one and I looked for one that ends in an X because that's a special case we want to be able to test. And most books today, unless you've got an old one, also has the 13 digits sitting right down here. So we've got two different numbers we can use here. Now, I've seen a number of students who have tried to start with the most general method first, the is valid method, and that is not the best way to start this. Step one is really to get the 10-digit completed. So the first step is going to be to complete the is valid 10-digit. And then after you've got that one working, step two is to complete is valid 13-digit. And when you've got that done, you've done the lion's share of the work. The last step is to get the very simple is valid method done, and that one will take very little time. Now, before we go any farther, I want to show you how you test your program. So I've got these codes here, and I've got actually a completed program, and we're going to just run it here. Now remember, what is sent is a string, and when I send it to the 10-digit, there are no dashes left. So we've got 0, 4, 7, 1, 5, 4, 3, 9, 7, 7. I say OK, and it returns true. To make sure it's not always returning true, I take that same one there and I change that last digit to something else like 2, and there we go, we've got false. Of course, if I'm testing the 10-digit, I want to make sure I do the one with the X as well. So 71672393. We're going to always use a capital X, and that works out true as well. All right, you'll notice that when we run this, I can go down here and anything I put there is still there. The next thing is to get that 13-digit check. So 9780471 543 978, end quotes, and we say OK, and there we go. We've got true. Same thing on the 13-digit. To check it, I should always change that last to some other number to make sure it works. There we go. I gave you the removes dashes, but you can put dashes anywhere, and you should be able to see that if I did that, it returns the number without dashes. But the only method I'm going to check when I run this is the is valid. So in the is valid, we could do something like the 0-7167-2393-X, and when we say that, it says true, which is what we would expect. All right, so that gives you a feel for how you're going to test it. And now let's go ahead and make sure we understand how we're going to program this. So the first step to understanding how to program is to understand the process. So with the 10-digit, we basically take the first 9 numbers and we multiply them by the numbers 1 through 9. So I'm going to take these numbers right here and copy them over. So 1 times 0, which gives me 0, 2 times 4, which is 8, 3 times 7 gives me 21, 4 times 1, which is 4, 5 times, let's see, I'm at 5, right? It's 25, 6 times 4, 24, 7 times 3, 21, 8 times 9, 72, and 9 times 7, which is 63. Remember, this right here is just a check digit. We're not going to multiply that one by anything. Now the sum of all of those numbers is, I've got it right here, it is 238. And once we get 238, we divide 238 by 11, and we're looking for the remainder. It goes in there, let's see, 2 times, 22, 18 goes in there once, 11, remainder is 7. It checks out, yay, we would then return true. If the remainder doesn't match, we would return false. Now, once we understand how this is working, then we're gonna, I've got this copied over from the previous, we want to convert this into what it's going to look like in coding, and I'm actually going to get rid of this column right here. All right, so I want us to notice here that right here I've got in this first line, 1 times, I'll use kind of Java here, and we're going to be parsing out these. So integer dot parseInt, because this is a string, so we have to take it from the string. And so we're going to have c dot substring 0 to 1. That's going to get us the very first number. So a substring starting at 0 and ending before the 1 place, and we multiply that by 1. And the next one, we're going to have 2 times integer.parseInt, and this time it's going to be c.substring 1, 2. And you can see how this is going to work out. And if we go all the way down here, the last line is going to be 9 times integer.parseInt c.substring. And if we see the pattern that this is 1 less, that's going to end up being 8. And then that last number match that one, 9. Now, to get full credit on this, or any credit at all, I'm going to expect to see not 9 lines of code here to get the sum, but a loop, because the whole point of this is to do it a little more efficiently. So you have this sum that you're going to initialize to 0, and then you're going to have a for loop. And I'm going to let you finish out what goes in the for loop. And then inside that for loop, you're going to have sum plus equals. We'll let you finish that out. And then after you do that, you're going to go and look for your remainder. So you're going to have sum remainder equals sum percent 11. All right, so now the last thing you have to do is be careful about that case where there's an x as opposed to a number. And so in here, the last thing you want to do is try and parse an int when there is no integer. So the first case you want to be checking for is if the remainder is 10. So if the remainder is 10, you want to see if the last letter, character I suppose, is x. Otherwise, we're going to see if r is equal to, and we're going to be parsing the same way, right? Integer.parseInt, and we're going to take that very last letter, c.substring. I'm going to let you figure out what goes in those parentheses. All right, and with that, you really have what you're going to do, and don't forget to return true or false. All right, now, our other case is the 13 digit, which is a very different sort of situation. And here what we're doing is we're multiplying the numbers, and half of them we multiply by 1, and half of them we multiply by 3. So over here, we'll look at this. We've got 9, 7, 8, and I'm going to just take these. And so 9 up here, 7, 8, 0, 4, 7, 1, 5, 4, 3, 9, and 7. And what I want to do is add all of these up. And the first set of them, I simply multiply times 1, or really by nothing. And the second set, I multiply times 3. And so one thing I want you to consider is that you could have 2 separate for loops. So you could have 2 for loops finding separate sums. And then multiply the second one by 3. Multiply the second one by 3. So for instance, in this first case, our sum comes out to 35. Over here, our sum comes out to 87. And then once I have both of those, I add those together. So 35 plus 87 gives me, let's see, 122. So the total sum equals 122. And now I take 122 and I divide that by 10 and look for the remainder, which goes in ones, 10, and we've got, see, 22 goes in 2 times, 10, and we get 2. But in this one, we have to then, for the check digit, take 10 minus that. So check digit equals 10 minus 2, which is 8, which, yay, matches up with that number, and so we would return true in this case. All right, so our very last thing is to make sure that we know what we need to do with the is valid method. So for the is valid method, the first thing we're going to do is call on this method over here. So we've got, this has already been given to you, the remove dashes. Now I want you to notice that remove dashes returns a string, but if we don't assign it to C, it's just like we did it, but we didn't keep it. So the first thing that a lot of people make the mistake of is they do this C dot remove dashes. Oops, sorry, not C dot. Sorry, remove dashes, and they send string C. So they send string C here. It removes the dashes, it returns C, and now what we want to do is say C equals, and now C has a new value. Now what we're going to do is basically say, okay, if C has length of 10, we're going to return whatever we got from is valid 10 digit. Remember, is valid 10 digit returns true or false. When that returns true or false, we're going to return that, which is going to then return the Boolean we need to return here. And then we're going to say, well, else if C has length of 13, if that's the case, then we're going to return is valid 13 digit. And if it doesn't have a length of 10 or 13, it's definitely not valid. So then the last thing is else, return false. All right, I hope this helps you get the whole program working just fine.